Welcome to the Straight Up, No Bullshit, The Dawn Hanston Show. Our hosts are going to push the limits, but create an environment where it's safe to uncover the crap that holds you back so you can survive the mediocrity of today's life. And they'll be admitting and revealing their own experiences so you can learn the skills and attitude you need to be who you are. No bullshit. Warning to all listeners, if you have thin skin and get offended easily by harsh, direct, or somewhat offensive content and language, then this podcast may be overwhelming. However, we believe pulling your blinders off and viewing things from a real perspective may feel invigorating and may be the very thing that may cause you to expand your capabilities exponentially. Now here's your hosts, Dawn and Marcus.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Straight Up No Bullshit, the show that cuts through the noise, cuts through the fluff, and gets right to the heart of the matter. Don, how's it going, my friend?
Everything's going great.
Awesome. Well, we got a special treat today. Today, we have an incredible guest who's taken us on a journey towards financial freedom. Myra Oliver, a good friend of mine from way back in the day, a Kentucky girl who started as a hairstylist and has become a successful real estate broker, investor, and entrepreneur. She is here to share a simple approach to achieving financial freedom. She retired at the age of 33. How many people can say that in their lives? And thanks to her strategic plan and smart investments, she is now a best-selling author and coaching people on how to do this and really embrace the strategies that made her life be able to live on her terms. So, in a society that values material possessions over living a fulfilling life, Myra is going to show us how to break free from the chains of debt and consumerism. And she's going to teach us that it's not just about how much money you make, but it's what you do that really matters. So, Myra, welcome to Straight Up No Bullshit.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you for having me. Woo, this is my thing. Let's talk.
That's right. I love it. So, I know you're a best-selling author. You sent me this copy, Down Home Money, A Simple Approach to Financial Freedom. I've been reading it. It's awesome. And so tell us a little about your journey. What got you started? I mean, you've got an impressive career. I mean, we met back in the late 90s, when we were both entrepreneurs in the nutritional business, but you got started even before that. So tell us how you got started and where it's brought you to this point.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I think I bought my first house at 20. So,
Wow.
I mean, I didn't like paying rent. But I started as a hairstylist. I moved to Texas. I'm from Kentucky. And I moved to Texas. I decided I wanted to do hair, and then I met my husband, so I ended up staying in Texas. And Rick, and so I stayed here, and I bought my first hair salon and started doing $5 haircuts, Marcus. So
Wow.
I will tell you, it's not how much money you make; it's how much money you keep and what you do with it.
That's right.
And so for me, I was buying assets. My mom and dad were both school teachers, and I watched them struggle because they were so caught up in consumerism. And for them, it was keeping up with the Joneses. But today, it's keeping up with the Kardashians. And I don't know how anybody's doing that.
Yeah. It is
So
crazy.
I just started one house at a time. And by the age of 33, we had 10 houses. And they were throwing off $5,000 a month. My husband was a policeman in Dallas, and he worked narcotics, and I wanted him out. So that allowed him to quit his job. And I sold my hair salon. And then I was free. And that's about the time you and I met.
Okay.
Because I was bored. So I started doing that a little bit. And I just was trying to decide what it is I wanted to do. Then I got bored and got my real estate license at 35. Just
That's
because
amazing.
I was bored and I was too young. We took a couple of years off and we traveled and we did all kinds of things, but I still was bored. I wasn't being fulfilled. I didn't get that. I just needed to feel like I was making a difference.
Right. Well, because I remember hearing the stories, because we came from a company called Starlight, and we had a weight loss product called Natural Trim and Fat Free, and we were making money hand over fist, having a great time traveling the world. And you started, as I was reading it, and it reminded me when I was reading your book, the chapter, that you were selling the Natural Trim out of your hair salon to your customers.
Yes, I'll never forget. What happened? It was so funny. This man called me. I'm talking about Charles Looney.
Yep.
He called me and he said, Myra, this is Charles Looney, and I need to come see you. And I said, who are you? Oh, you need a haircut? I mean, I didn't even know who he was, right?
Right.
Because I had never done network marketing. Somebody shared the product with me. I liked it. I signed up. And then he said, honey, you're number one. You just won a trip to Hawaii. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, you've sold so much product. And I was selling a boatload.
That's
And he goes,
awesome.
can I come to Texas? And I go, yeah, can you get on a plane? Come on. And so he said, just put some people in the room. Well, he had no clue. I mean, I have all these clients, right? I put like 70 people in the room for him. And by the time he got done, I had about 25 new distributors, and he put them all across my front line.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's how I got started.
That's awesome.
And it just went from there. I mean, because I didn't understand network marketing, but I got a free car from them and won trips like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it was a great experience. You know, I think that it taught me a lot about business, and it taught me a lot about people and drive, and that, you know, you can have anything you want if you'll go get it. You know, I think a lot of people use their education or just how they were raised or whatever. They use that because it's a mindset. Everything's a mindset, and they use that, and it's holding them back. Right. And Starlight is the first experience I had with like Nito Quabain. We had all those motivational speakers, you remember?
Right. Yep. Jim Rohn.
And it really made me realize I can have anything I want. My high school education is not going to hold me back. What do you want? Go get it. Right. So I'm so grateful for that, for those years.
I think a lot of it's got to do with your enthusiasm, number one. Number two, you realize that you can get what you want without having all these accolades. Like, you know, people think that you need to have this great education to go out and make money, right?
Right.
And even if you do make a bunch of money, a lot of these people, they are pinned to that job because their lifestyle eats up every ounce of every dollar that they make. Yes. So they're sort of slave to their jobs. Even if they got this great education and they got these great jobs and they make all this money and they got you know who I am and I do this and I do that. Great. But how much time do you have to go out and enjoy, go on vacation, enjoy yourself, enjoy your family, enjoy the people that you want to be around? And I think that that's where you're at. And I've only spoke with you before this interview for like 5 minutes, and you got such a great energy, and you're the type of person you're going to be successful no matter what you do, just because your energy level is where it needs to be. Yeah.
Well, I love life and I love people. And I just feel like that, I don't know. I think that I really do give a lot of credit to being in that company because a lot of people told me no.
Right.
And I had to learn, does no mean no, or does it mean KNOW, right? They just don't know enough. And so I just had to take the attitude of that. They just don't know enough. And it just made me a lot more aggressive and more go get it attitude. And still to this day, I drive people crazy. They're like, I mean, my office, because I'm always like, okay, we can do this. Let's do this. And let's do this. And they're always like, you have so much energy. I'm like, yeah, I just need y'all to take a little of it and go do these things.
Exactly. If you could bottle some of that, you know,
feed off of that. Let's go. Come on. You know, but I think that you're so right. What has happened to our country and what's happened with people is that everything is so expensive, right? I mean, everything is so expensive. And it's so expensive because we're watching Instagram, we're watching, you know, TikTok, and we're watching Facebook, and we're seeing people with consumerism. Yeah. I mean, consumerism is alive and well. And I mean, am I on TikTok and they're pull up in their Lamborghini? What do they do? Go rent that? Yeah. I mean, all these influencers that are acting like they're so rich. And, you know, I mean, I saw a deal about somebody's belt, you know, and how much they spent on their belt. I never got caught up in that. I have never cared. Most of my stuff from Walmart, and I only shop at Walmart. So pretty much they're paying me to shop there.
That's hilarious that you're saying that because I got home. I was playing hockey. I got home and I got the call. I got my dates mixed up, right? I got shirts with holes, right? I got my pajamas on.
I love it.
I got to show you this. Because it's hilarious. I
love this guy.
My Papa Bear slippers. And I'm on my podcast shed right now listening to you. It's awesome.
See, there you go.
Awesome.
I mean, because here's the deal. I don't need to impress anybody. I
Hell
impress
no.
myself. When I open my portfolio, my stock portfolio, I'm like, I'm pretty impressed. And then I've got a rental portfolio. And this is from doing, remember, I did $5 haircuts. $5 make me holla. I mean, I would just cut hair for 12 hours. I just cut hair like crazy. And then I save them and I get enough money and I go buy another house.
Right.
And I get enough money and I go buy another house. My husband and I had never made over $100,000. So, I mean, I want people to understand that it is what you're doing with your money. Those $5 lattes, only person you're making rich is Starbucks.
Exactly.
I mean, take that $5 and at the end of the month, you'll have $100. Let's go invest in a good paying stock that will pay you a dividend. I mean, we laugh because I have a lot of Exxon stock. I bought a ton of Exxon stock and I get my dividend every 3 months. It pays for all of our fuel all year long with my dividends.
That's
and
awesome.
so, yeah, so what I've done now is I've gone and bought stuff, the places I like, the stores I like, Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Exxon.
right.
I have bought stock. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to turn that into that is my income, a dividend investing income for a month. And so for real estate, I bought ABR, Arbor Trust. It's a great REIT. If you haven't looked at it, look at it. It pays you a great little dividend. It's a monthly dividend.
Okay.
And it's a high rate. So, I'm like everybody else. I am so average. I mean, listen, I am just such
There's nothing average about you. No way.
Yes, no, I am. I'm so average. And so I just want people to know that you can do and have and be anything you want when you make the decision right here.
Yep.
I don't let
It's
anybody, I can be in any room with anybody. I don't care. And so, because I can learn from them. I'd never want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm always like the not the smartest, but I'm going to tell you what, I do take good notes.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Taking notes. I mean, I've been Jim Rohn's in one of our earliest seminars said, be a buyer of empty books and fill those books, those journals. And I got shelves and shelves of journals. I take notes on everything.
Yes.
So we need to have people like yourself that inspire. I mean, we had Starlight. Starlight showed us a bigger picture, like what was possible. I mean, trips of a lifetime, car program. I mean, we were flying, we got to eat lunch in Winston Churchill's boyhood home in London, where went through a gate that no one's gone through in 30 years, and it's like fireworks in the middle of London, under the, with the Queen's band playing our music. It was crazy. So I love what you're doing because you're out there, you're helping people that are struggling. Because I think a lot of people struggle with financial freedom due to those ingrained belief systems or attitudes towards money. So how can individuals change their mindset and break free from those limitations from your point of view?
Well, first off, the very first thing they've got to do is they got to get on a budget. Okay. I mean, that is crucial because most people have never sit down and written down all their bills. So they got to write it down. We got to look at it. You have to look at it and be in it every day. And then next, which is really important, is you got to get you a little black notebook, or you can do it on your phone. A lot of people like doing it on the phone. I like having a little notebook, and you've got to document every penny you spend because we got to stop the bleeding. I mean, I have people that come to me all the time. And I'll tell you an example. I had a lady who came to me who made over $1 million a year selling real estate. So it happens for people who make a lot of money, and it happens for people who don't make very much money.
Yes.
And she got so caught up in consumerism, she was getting ready to lose her house.
Wow.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And then when I saw of her debt, she had no clue, none. And now we have slowly but surely, I've been working with her for 2 years. She didn't lose her house. We sold the house and moved her in a cheaper house that she could afford.
Right.
She needed to quit trying to keep up with everybody. And now, she's like so into it because it's really funny because once you get in it, you put your blinders on and you're like, you're not even looking at Instagram or TikTok over here. You're just staying focused on what your life can look like because you have to have a vision of what you want.
Right.
So I take them through that. First of all, we decide what do you want? We're going to do the budget so we can see where we are because we got to know where we are in order to know where we're going.
Yep.
And then they're going to document for 30 days every penny they spend. And then we meet up again. And then we go over what they're spending. And then we start cutting. I start sharing with them where we're going to cut on the budget, where we can. and where we can save. I mean, I have done videos on going to Walmart. And I mean, I was serious when I talk about Walmart. It's like my favorite store. But I've done videos about Walmart where I've bought 20 items and I bought the Great Value brand compared to name brand.
Sure.
The exact same thing, but name brand, and save $20. So if I can save you $20 a week, now we got $80 into the month, you can start investing. And
Sure.
they're always like, well, how will $80 make a difference? Well, let me share with you. I started at $100 a month, $100 a month, and I invested it in the S&P 500. So I would send it to Vanguard and I'd write a check, because back then you wrote a check, and I mail it,
Right.
and then until it became, ACH. But I sent the money every month, consistent. And in 10 years, that money was worth $165,000. In 20 years, because the stock market had blown up, and I continued to make my investments, about consistency. Continued.
Dollar cost averaging. Yep.
Never quit. At the end of 20 years, it was over $1 million.
Wow.
Now, I share that because it's important that people understand compounding.
Yeah.
Just like debts compound and kick your butt,
Yeah.
saving money can compound. And so I did that. That was my retirement plan. I didn't know that I was going to end up buying all the real estate and then later changing careers and doing real estate. But I did that because I saw the compounding effect. And I saw where, and the earlier people start, if we could all get our children to start this, we will not have a money
Right.
problem in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we overspend and we don't teach about it till we hit about 40 years old, and then we play catch up and we never get there. But if we can teach, like I do a class where I teach young kids, like 15, 14, and get them investing, because there's apps, that the kids can go on.
Sure.
And then, the parents can be their fiduciary. And it's incredible because honestly, I'd rather take a kid and have them invest from 15 to 25 and never invest again. And I'll have them to $1 million really quick, way quicker than the person that starts at 25 and invest every year there on out, because of
Right.
the compounding, that additional compounding. It explodes. So that's what I teach. I just try to get people to see their money differently, because it'll show up different.
Absolutely.
What's interesting about what you're talking about is it's what I talk about pretty much about all topics, right? It's getting everything back to simplicity. I think that we make things too complex. And when we do that, we lose sight of what it is that we're trying to do. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. You're just bringing it back to simple. It's logical. It's simple. And but the beauty is that, you have to get past that ego thing where you're there and you're out there trying to prove to everybody else, look at my car, look at my house. Did you see my clothes? Right? Like,
Yes.
You got to get past that. You got to be like, I don't give a shit. I got a $5 haircut. The shirt came from Salvation Army. It was $1. Okay. And who cares what anybody thinks, right?
That's exactly right.
And those are usually, because in my other business, I work for a lot of people that have a lot of money. And I will tell you, the ones that truly have the most amount of money are the people that you wouldn't guess in a million years that they got a lot of money. And the ones that are putting on the dog and they act like, oh boy, look at me, and do you know who I am, and that's my car, and that's my house, and do you know who you're talking to, and all this crap. Okay, these people can't even afford anything.
That's right.
And it blows my mind.
So true.
I'm
that
like,
true.
Go trade in those Lamborghinis. Maybe you get rid of the $2 million house and get a $500,000 house.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly.
You got it. I mean, there's a great book, The Millionaire Next Door, and it talks about that. And Rick and I used to laugh about that. We bought a $35,000 house. We paid it off. My car outside was a little Toyota that was missing the passenger seat. It was
get a milk crate.
Yes, he bought it at auction, and because it was a courier's car, but it was a cheap car, and it got me back and forth to my hair salon. And we lived like that for a lot of years. So now that we can live like nobody else, and so we lived like that. We lived so cheap. I mean, our expenses, we kept them down to like $1,000, $1,500 a month. And we just started buying rental property. We used that extra money because we knew that someday we're going to be able to walk away and never have to work again. I mean, I haven't worried about making a payment on anything in 20, 30 years. And I hate to say that because it makes me sad, because everybody should have that same feeling. Everybody. I mean, everybody can have that feeling. I did it as a hairstylist. I mean, a lot of times people look at me now because I've owned franchises of real estate and all that. But no, I did it back then. Now today's different, but I did it in my 20s and 30s.
That's awesome. And I think you highlighted on something, you found your big why. And I know you talk about that in your book, that it's a crucial step in achieving a financial freedom like that. So could you dive in a little deeper about what that means to you people, and why it can so positively impact someone's financial future moving forward?
And let me just say this, finding your big why is hard. And a lot of people say, well, it's my children. Well, dig deep, because it needs to be more than that. And I keep asking when I'm digging for people. For me, I have no children. And so that was hard for me to decide what is my big why, right? And when you learn what your big why is and what gets you up every day and keeps you going,
right,
big things happen, because that puts you in a position where you will do that extra. You'll make the extra calls. You'll do whatever extra you got to do, because it's the consistent habits that change your life.
Yeah.
And so when you learn that and you know what you want and you know what is your big why, like right now, I'm getting ready to fulfill my big why. I'm getting ready to buy 100 acres in Kentucky, and I'm building a compound for my family, and I'm building everybody a house.
That's
and so
awesome.
That has been my big why for a long time. And so now financially, I'm going to be able to do that. And so because of selling properties and doing what I'm doing, and that's something I've just always wanted to do. It's been a dream of mine for my brother and sister, my mother, to live there, and nieces and nephews. I'll bring you some tiny homes if y'all want to come in, but you're going to have to sacrifice. I don't want to people need to learn sacrifice. And it's been a wonderful thing. Sacrifice is great, because when you do get it, you appreciate it more. When it's given to you, it isn't appreciated, I have found. And so that's my thing. I just think that if people find what makes them tick, and a lot of times sometimes it's not what they think it is. Because if it's not making you get up and go do these things and these behaviors, because you've got to get consistent daily behaviors to move forward. And if it's not, then that's not your big why. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
But
it's a passion.
I agree 100% with you. Number one, it's your habits, right? Constantly improve your habits, right? Doesn't matter what habit it is. You have to be striving for constant betterment. So by doing that, if you constantly look at your habit and say, I could tweak it in this way, or I could tweak it that way. Once you get in the habit of making better habits, that's a whole nother habit. That's a whole higher level. But before we started this interview, you had mentioned something that was very interesting, because it's very similar to my mindset. And you said, I have time to make a difference. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is my entire mantra right now. Like, I've been in my business for 39 years. Could have retired probably years ago. And then, I had a bad event in 2008. I was over leveraged in real estate, the opposite of where you made it. And my takeaway was you need to have your money put aside for when you do have hard times, because that's when you buy, not just real estate, stocks, everything else. That's when you get everything at a discount. But what I found is when you put your time in and you make the money that you need to make, and you kind of have it on cruise control where it's more like passive income, is you actually have time to do your due diligence to actually make a difference for other people. And so, like, for my mantra is to improve my environment. And how do you improve your environment? By improving others around you, right?
Absolutely.
By improving everything around you. And so, but it takes time. It takes critical thinking, and it takes a lot of time to do that, right? And like you said, extra phone calls, extra whatever it is, you have to do a little bit extra. But that's like a whole new reason to live. Is it to buy a fancier car? I could give a shit about a car. No. Is it a fancier house? No, I actually like my house up north that's like 500 square feet. I can clean it. I can clean it in 5 minutes. It's awesome. Okay.
I love it.
And so like people are trying to chase this happiness with stuff, right? They want to buy stuff. Like you said, you call it consumerism, right? They buy stuff because I'm really sad. This is going to make me happy and it's going to make me feel better about myself. And all it does is it's maybe a temporary fix, couple days, and then that's gone. And they figure they got to pay for this shit, and then they got to pay 20% interest, and here goes all my income. I better get a raise at work. So let's turn up the speed on that treadmill because I got to go faster now because I got to make more money so the neighbors think that I'm rich. Right. And it's a whole mindset, just like you said. It's really interesting from just talking to you for just a couple of minutes. We're on exactly the same wavelength as far as simplicity, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, who cares? Because when you die, you can't take his stuff with you.
No.
You can't take it with you. So I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand why you're killing yourself to live in that big old house and you're having to work 10, 11, 12-hour days in order to pay that house payment. It's absolutely stupid. There's just no, because listen, let's just face it. As you get older, you want to work less. And if you haven't gotten your finances in order, you're going to be in trouble. And right now in our country, we have got more people working in their 60s and 70s because they're not set up for retirement. And Social Security, well, who knows what's going to happen with that, right? Don't rely on that. And so it's just really important that if you want to be prepared, start today. And listen, I don't care if you are 50 years old and you're listening to this call. Here's the deal. You can change your life. You've got to start today. Don't keep putting this off. You have to start today. So if you're doing a latte, stop it. If you're buying junk and stuff that doesn't matter that you're not going to use, stop it. What you've got to do is go through your closets, go through your garage, get rid of everything that you're not using and sell it. And now we got a little money. We can start investing and we can start today. It's important, and don't put it off. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter what your age is or whatever. I work with everybody, and I find that sometimes that people who are 50, 60, 70, they feel like they should, why start? You know what? I screwed up over for 50 years and I spent every penny and now I'm broke. Why start? And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Everything is getting way more expensive. And I mean, you need more money today than you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago to just survive. Houses are getting more expensive. Everything is more expensive. Health insurance. My health insurance is $888. I'm like, a month. I'm like, that is the silliest, craziest thing I've ever had in my life. And that's probably the next thing I'm going to just self-fund. I'm going to just self-fund it. This is crazy because I'm really healthy. But, I mean, there's stuff like that. Think about that. $888 a month. To over 12 months. Wow. That's a lot of money. And so, but that a lot of times Rick and I'll be talking and I'm like, I just don't know how people are doing it right now. And they're not. The people that are calling me are struggling.
They're maxing their credit cards out. They're just, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and it's challenging. So one of the things, obviously, on this journey, whether you're starting at 20, starting at 50, or wherever in between, financial freedom and just being able to live life on your terms requires sacrifice, requires discipline.
A lot.
Absolutely. Would you highlight some of those things some of the costs and challenges that people encounter along that way?
Mm-hmm. So I would tell you that what people need to understand is that they shouldn't be using credit cards because, that's 18 to 24%.
Right.
I mean, I have people say to me, oh my gosh, interest rates are so high to buy a house. And I'm like, do you have credit card debt? And they go, yeah. And I go, oh, really? Because you're paying 18%. Why are you worried about a 6.5%, 7% loan for a house?
Right.
You got to have shelter. And home values go up. So if you live in it long enough, you're going to make money, period. So I think that's one of the first things is that, you know what? They got to invest their money. If they're renting, thank you. You're making me rich. Right. And you're making your landlord rich because honestly, that's what really changed my trajectory was people buying houses for me. So why don't you figure it out? And so let's say your rent's $1,500 a month. I can find you a house for $1,500 a month. It's not going to be the Taj Mahal, but it's back to what Don said. You got to get your thinking down. But at least have an asset. We moved in our first house and we bought it in the 80s, and it was it was actually a friend deal, so it was really cheap. It was $35,000.
Wow.
I finally sold that house. I sold it this last year, and I sold it for $235,000.
Amazing.
I've had it
Nice.
rented. I've made over $300,000 since I bought it in the last 25 years.
Wow.
In rents. Yeah.
And rents. And so that's what I want to share with you. That's why home ownership matters. So find your house right now with tiny homes. I mean, they're going crazy here, and there are communities with tiny homes, and you can own the home. You can trailer that home somewhere else. You're not stuck.
Right.
You're not a tree. You're not planted with that. And so the good news is there's so many options. And I don't think people look at options. They see, I want that $500,000 house, and they realize they're never going to get it. So they don't even try.
Yeah.
So you got to start here. You got to start what you can afford. And I think we're not having those conversations, but I think also you got to get out of debt, and you got to figure that out, because people have car loans. You should not have a car loan. A car is not an asset.
No.
I mean, a car is not an asset. And I mean, we still have a 2008 van. It's hilarious. And everybody laughs about it, but we bought it many years ago. We bought it new.
It works, right? It runs.
It runs perfectly. And people at the gym laugh at Rick because he drives that van because it's his work van. And they laugh at him. They're always like, okay, here comes a millionaire next door. Because that's who he is. He looks like he just walked out of, I don't know what, because he goes, he can care. He could care less, but that has made us who we are. But what's really interesting is that when you have money, it's kind of like you had said, Mark, when you got money, you don't start spending their money like that. I think Dawn might have was talking about how people spend, it's funny because when you have it, I mean,
It's no big deal.
Warren Buffett is a perfect example of that.
Sure.
He can buy anything he wants, literally. States,
countries,
countries. I mean, but he still lives in his first home.
Right. I think it's 3 bedrooms, 1,500 square feet.
Right.
And I think this is about 5 years ago. He was still driving a 1983 Oldsmobile.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, because he realizes he didn't have to press anybody. We all know what he's got.
Yeah, exactly. I think people need to realize that the only person you need to impress is yourself.
Right.
You don't need to impress anybody else. Who gives a shit about what anyone else thinks?
That's it.
It's like, care about yourself enough to think about what you want to do and live life in your terms, not what someone else is pretending to be out on Facebook or whatever. So,
well, we grew up as Generation X, and we were the latchkey kids, right?
Yep.
And so our parents made us very independent.
Yes.
I mean, very independent. I started a job in high school. I mean, my parents made me work for everything. Yep. And it's really interesting because I think just the different generations, whether it be Z, millennials, then there's X, and then boomers, and the greatest generation. I think that millennials, because they were raised on TikTok and Instagram and all that, they've been fed so much. Because remember, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose wisely. Who are you spending time with, right?
Yep.
Also, it's all the stuff you're feeding yourself. Who are you with the most? Yourself.
Right.
And whatever you're feeding yourself, and you're watching Instagram, and you're watching these girls with all this high-end clothes on, and you're just sitting there watching all this stuff, people in their Lamborghinis and showing their jewelry, and I mean, and society loves movie stars and their big life and how they live. And I think that it's just we're at a place that people have got to stop, because the situation it's going to leave us in. We're going to have people at 80 years old that have to work just to pay their rent. I mean, because you've seen the numbers. By 60, when you and I were growing up, people were retired.
Yes, they were.
That is not happening now. They can't afford to retire. And it's because they're not saving any money. And I want to say this because I think it's important. People think everybody's a millionaire. And I mean, it's all over Instagram. They all look like millionaires to me. And so the interesting thing is 91.8% of the population are not millionaires.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 8.2% of the population. So every 100 people, only 8. But man, if I'm on Instagram, it looks like everybody.
Right.
What's funny is being a millionaire these days really isn't that much anyways. It's not that, I mean, it used to be a big deal. a millionaire. I mean, you could have $1 million today and you could be broke tomorrow. I mean, but it's all perspective, right? If you got $1 million, it's not a lot. If you don't have $1 million, it's a lot. But
that's exactly right.
But it's not a big number anymore because a lot of homes exceed $1 million.
You're
okay.
Right.
And which kind of brings me up to something that I want to mention in this podcast. You talk about homes and stuff, and you talk about people looking at these expensive homes. Okay, I've had some very expensive homes myself. Okay, and I'll be honest with you. Number one, they have a lot of maintenance. Okay. Number two, they have a lot of taxes. Okay.
Yep.
And even if I pay cash, right? You got a $2 million house, I give you a check for $2 million. I'm stuck with that $40,000-$50,000 tax bill, right? and then it costs me to paint the house, to put a roof on the house, to do all this. I mean, the amount is, and it's like a full-time job. And I see people that are house poor, right? And they cannot afford to maintain these shacks, okay? And it blows my mind. And it's like, number one, if you could give me, let's say, I don't know what a small number is on a house anymore, but let's just say $400,000 house.
I can get you a good house for $250,000.
All right, a $250,000. A $250,000 house or a $2 million house. Don, you could have either one, but you can't sell it. I'll take the $250,000 one, and and here's why: the tax bill's not going to crush me. Okay, right. The maintenance is not going to crush me. Okay, and I can live in that thing without worry free. Okay. And so it's kind of something that I wanted to get into, because when people are house poor, they don't have money to invest. In my opinion, it's no different than going to Starbucks and buying 2 coffees a day and a Danish or whatever for $20, because you're blowing all this money in your house and you're handcuffed. You have no extra money to put in the stock market or wherever you're putting it to create some gain. So a lot of people think that they're really doing themselves a service by buying these big monstrosity houses.
There's no tax write-offs anymore either, by the way. There used to be good big tax write-offs for those high-end houses. And in the state of Texas, I get $10,000. That's it.
Wow.
For my property taxes. That's it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's another point that people have to understand is getting this big lavish house, okay? All it does is increases your bills, increases your work, and it lessens the money that you have to invest in other things.
And what's your time worth? I mean, what is your time worth? Because every day it's tick tock, right? Tomorrow's not promised, and you don't know how much time you've got on this earth. And so if you keep putting everything off till tomorrow may not come.
I'll tell you something that's interesting, Myra. My opinion on wealth has nothing to do with money. Yep. I know that this podcast right here is about money, but really, is it about money, or is it about financially free so you can live, so you can enjoy your life, right? It's really about time.
Yep.
It's about time.
It's about time. It's about living on your own terms, right?
Yes.
And I've got people I coach, like I've got a girl I coach that she's single and she's 40, and I've been coaching her, I guess about 4 years, and we've paid her house off. We've paid her car off. We've paid everything off. So now we're working on her money, right? To have how much money do you need to have invested so that you can pay the taxes, the insurance, the utilities on that house, and the maintenance on the car, and have enough money to live, because she wants to quit her job. And we've got a 5-year plan from this day forward. We're taking all the money, we're investing it to build her a big portfolio that throws her off. Her goal is $4,000 a month. Nice. And so she's going to need about $1 million to do that. I mean, depending on if we do investments that aren't real high risk, right? But if we did, $1 million in a money market right now, which is safe, you'll make 5%. That's $50,000 a year.
Right.
So $1 million's our goal. And so that's $1 million on top of everything she's got that's paid off. Mm-hmm. And so we're just working it. She's taking, she is literally saving 80% of what she makes right now.
That's phenomenal.
80%. But she's disciplined. Everything comes around discipline. It's funny because my husband said, "You're the most disciplined human being I've ever been around." I said, "Why is that?" Because the last 3 days, my doctor was doing my blood coming up, and she said, "I want to just test something. Will you do something for me?" So sure. She goes, "Will you go carnivore?" And I'm like, okay, I guess. She goes, I want you to go carnivore for 7 days. We're going to do your blood work. And then I just want to see if there's a difference when you're eating carbs. And I'm like, all right. So anyway, so I've been doing carnivore. So guess what I had today to eat? I had a steak this morning for breakfast and
Nice.
3 eggs and a bunch of butter. I like butter. And
Yeah, I do too.
I had a hamburger patty before we got on, and I don't know what I'll have later, but I'm not hungry at all. I mean, it really, but Rick goes, there's no way I could do that. I don't know how you can do this stuff. And I'm like,
Carnivore is good. I got friends that have lost a lot of weight, and all the research is showing that it feeds your body.
that's,
It's the seed oils and the carbs and the sugar
that's what she
is
said.
what destroys us.
She's a
Yep.
functional medicine doctor. And she said, if you can
Nice.
do it a week, I may be able to get you to do it 30 days and we may push it out. I think she's just testing the waters with me.
Sure.
But so she said, because she thinks I might be a little bit carb sensitive. And so anyway, it'll be interesting. And
Yeah.
honestly, it's really not, I mean, the reward, everything comes behind risk. Everything takes risk. You got to be willing
Yep.
to do. And the reward of feeling fabulous way outweighs eating carbs. So I was like, no big deal. I
Yep.
can do that. So, but it's just interesting because it's what you're willing to try, right? And a lot of
Yep.
times it's something new. Like at first I was like, just like everybody is about money or about trying something different or say, I was like, yeah, I don't think I could live. I don't know that I could live without my protein bars and all my carbs and my pasta. And she goes, I guarantee you can. Let's see. And I've been doing it, 4 days? I've been on it for 4 days.
We'll have to do a follow-up and see how your blood work comes out. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah.
That'd be
So
awesome.
I want to live forever. So I went to a
Yeah.
functional medicine doctor because I'm not on any prescriptions or anything. I wanted a functional doctor to look at all those biomarkers and take it to the next level. So that's why I did it. And this is why she said, I think that there may be a little touch of inflammation. Here, try this. Just try it. And she said, I'm going to just do it for a week. And I'm like, I know it takes 30 days before we'll do blood work again. So,
But again, if you do it for a week, you can do it for another week. Try it for another week.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I love that. I love that she treated it that way because a week, okay, once you get through a week, the next week gets easier.
Right.
$100, the next month it's $200. The next month it's $300. It'll get easier. Everything. I bought an electric bike. I haven't ridden a bike since I was a kid, and I really struggled learning to ride this bike. And Rick was like, you're not going to use it, are you? I go, yes, I am. So every day I go out there for 15, 20 minutes. And I mean, I'm wobbly. I was like, I don't know why I can't get this. And so I have really long legs. So I was like, maybe it's my legs. So then Rick raised my seat up and that helped. And so I was like, okay. And so, it's everything. You've got to just, sometimes you got
baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah. And now I'm like a crazy person in the neighborhood driving that bike. You better get out of my way.
Yeah,
it's the best, and it's economical too. I mean, you could drive that thing around. You plug it in, probably cost you $1 to charge a thing, and you could eliminate one of your vehicles by riding a bike and getting some exercise.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of hills here, and I walk 3 to 5 miles every morning. So that's another habit
wonderful.
I started. I never exercised ever in my life. I started gaining weight, and I was like, what is wrong with me? I've always been skinny. I mean, Marcus, you've seen me.
Yep.
And so I've always been skinny. And I started gaining, I gained like 15 pounds. I was like, I better start exercising. So I started walking in 2018. And I do it every single day, 3 to 5 miles. It depends, but I have a lot of heels. So I thought I better get a bike that's got electricity so that if I get stuck, I'm going to need a little juice to get me up that hill. There's some mornings I wished I had that, but I'm walking, but you just got to keep going.
I love it.
It's all in the habits.
Absolutely. And Myra, I wanted to share with you an idea that I came up with. It's basically the same thing as what you're talking about, but it's about simplicity. And what I try to explain to my kids is I use a little different analogies than you do. I say it's not how much money comes in the front door, it's how much money you blow out the back door, number one.
Yep.
Number two is the smaller amount of the money that you earn, that you spend, and that you have bills for and everything else, the more that you have to create financial freedom. So I used the $100,000 analogy, right? So I said, if you could live on 25,000 and you get 100,000, what you've done is you've created 3 years of freedom for every year that you work. So if you work 10 years, you've created 30 years of freedom. Okay. And that's without investing, right? That's without
Right.
in real estate investing, like you're saying.
Right.
That's without investing in dividend stocks. It's without doing anything.
Right.
And so really it goes back to that simplicity thought, is where can you make it ultra simple, right? I always say you got to make it idiot proof, otherwise I'm not going to figure this shit out, right?
Yeah.
Just make it so simple that even an idiot like me cannot screw this thing up, okay?
Right.
And if you can do that, because I think that all these plans and you got to do this and you got to do that gets too complex for people.
Right.
But if you tell them, doesn't matter. Even if you only spend half, right? You've created 1 year of relief every year you work. It's okay, but you can do better than that. But so I always like the $100,000 theory, because if you can live on 25 grand,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
look at how
Yeah.
much freedom you've created for yourself.
There are lots of people. I mean, the fire community is incredible. There are so many people in the fire community, financially independent, retire early. And those people live on their investments, and they live very cheaply. I mean, they
Frugal.
live
They're frugal.
really,
Yeah.
frugal and reasonable. And you know what? I mean, what's interesting is it's kind of fun. I mean, I love to see how much money I can save. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm just like a
I
crazy
love getting a good
person.
deal. Find a good deal.
Oh my gosh, I love a good deal. I mean, love a good deal. And
Yeah.
so I think that, when it becomes a game, then and you make it fun, like with kids, like especially if you have kids. I think that we've given kids all these wonderful things. I mean, how many kids have $1,000, $1,200 cell phone? I mean, it's
So many.
ridiculous.
It is.
And so I think that we've got to get back to where you teach work ethic on the front end when they're young. Don't wait till they're 25 and then they go. I had a kid I interviewed last week, and it was really interesting for a job. And I asked him if he had ever worked, and he had never worked. And so he went through, he never worked through high school, went to college, never worked through college. Here he's 25 years old. Now, do you think I'm going to give him a job?
No way.
Because he needs to learn on somebody else. My job's too good of a job.
Right, yeah.
I don't have time to break you in. Because I don't know if you're going to show up on time every morning because you haven't had to. You haven't had any responsibility the last 25 years. What makes you?
Right.
And I said this to him. I said, "Tell me what makes it, why I should hire you, because I don't even know if you can get up in the morning."
It's called accountability, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
people forgot what that's all about.
Everybody's forgotten what that's about. And we got to get back to that. We've got to teach to respect money, because money's been flowing. Money's been flowing like crazy. And I think we got to get back to teaching the respect for money. And then you'll see people doing things differently. You'll see people back to saving. I mean, we're seeing all these, influencers, and they're making all this money. But what are they doing with it? It's what I want to know. I want to know what investments you're making, because making money's easy. Let's just face it. I can make as much money as I want. Making money is easy. Keeping money is the hardest thing ever, because you've got to get in good assets. And I mean, I've lost money. We've all lost money. I mean, my worst investment was a pair of emus.
Really?
Seriously. It was emu oil. I'm in Texas. It was emu oil. That was going to be the hottest, newest. It's going to heal everything. That oil, we're going to all look like we're 20 when we're 70.
Right.
And it didn't quite work out like that.
It's funny you say that, because Stephen Goldberg said way back in the day, he's the founder of our company, Marcus, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep.
Yeah.
And that's take away from this. That's what it's all about. And, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. It's been wonderful. And again, if you haven't gotten Down Home Money, you need to go to Amazon and buy it. Where else can they find it?
You can get it at Amazon, or you can get on Audible, and I read it. So if you don't like a Southern accent, I'd buy the book.
Well, I love Audible. Thank you for mentioning that, because I like listening to them. I get through much faster than reading.
I like the accent.
I'm going to pick it up. I love the accent. Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we wrap up here, what are a couple, 2, 3 practical steps or strategies that people can implement immediately moving forward to getting them to financial freedom?
Absolutely. First step is you need to start writing down all of your expenses. You've got to know where you are to know where you're going. Second step, what's really important is we've got to start keeping up with how you're spending your money for at least 30, 60 days, even 90 days. It'll really give you a clear picture of what you spend your money on. So now we can go and how do we save money? There's 2 ways to financial freedom. You either cut expenses or you make more money. Okay.
Yep.
Or you do
Yep.
both. Right. So we've got to figure it out. If you tell me I'm tapped out, I cannot work anymore, then we got to deal with what you've got. So we're going to look at what you have. We're going to figure out what you're wasting money on. And we're all wasting money. All of us.
Yep. We all
Even
are.
the most frugal person can find cuts. And we're going to figure out where we're going to cut. And with that cut, we're going to take the money and put it in a jar as you're cutting. I mean, we got to start somewhere. And it's the simple steps and it's the baby steps that will get you to the next level. And then you've got to start a retirement account. A retirement account will be just one avenue to get you there. If I'd have done nothing else and blown my money and been dressed for success and thinking I was all special and I had to have expensive clothing and expensive jewelry and all that stuff, then I still would have been a millionaire in 20 years because I did my consistent monthly investment. And as I got older, I started maxing that out. So I think that is crucial, whether it be a SEP or an IRA or a Roth. If you're in your 20s and 30s, I would tell you to do a Roth if you can do a Roth. But I think that that's one of the key things. I think that you can go to Vanguard.com. You don't have to get anybody to manage your money. They have the least expensive fees. I don't make any money on Vanguard, but I love it because it's cheap and it's easy to do. And go open your account and get started. You can start with $100, and you need to invest in the S&P 500 because if you're going to just start, you don't go trying to figure out the stock market. You put it in the S&P 500, that's the top 500 stocks, and let it ride. And it will start compounding and paying you dividends every quarter. And so the dividends start compounding and pay you. And that's a great way to start and get the book Down Home Money. And that'll help you, give you a little more information. And you know what? I have a YouTube channel that I'm getting ready to start back up. I took about 6 months off because I just needed a break because, that's a grind. Y'all understand that every week. And I wanted that freedom that I talk about. So getting ready to start back on that. It's weekly. It's on Tuesdays that we drop our video. So. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll check that out.
Yeah.
We'll put the link in the show notes. And if they want to learn more about you, is there a website they should go to?
Yeah, I have Down Home Money. Everything's Down Home Money. I'm Down Home Money Instagram, Down Home Money Facebook. If you want to email me, I do a lot of stuff through email with people, helping them on their finances. downhommoney@gmail.com. And this is my passion project. And so this is my way to make a difference and give back. So I do not charge. So.
Look at you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
So this is, what I found, success is great, but significance is where it's at.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
That's just where I'm at now. And this is my thing. I've been blessed. And so I'm paying it forward.
Well, Myra, you are significant in so many ways. So thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
It's been great catching up with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening in. And folks, if you liked what you heard here today, go check out Myra's book or Audible. Check her out on YouTube. And if you liked what you heard, leave a like on our YouTube channel. Leave a good comment. Give us a 5-star review. And more importantly, go to TikTok. We're trying to build our TikTok channel. We need to get to 1,000 so we can go live on TikTok. Please find us on TikTok. It's Straight Up No Bullshit. We appreciate it very much. So until next time, we'll see you on Straight Up No Bullshit.
See you guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the Straight Up No Bullshit, the Dawn Hanston Show. We hope we enlightened you and expanded your perspectives with our bold and honest discussions about what might be holding you back from being your genuine self. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to the next episode. If you want to know more, go to straightupnobullshit.com. We'll see you next time.